Hello, my name is Bob Anderson. I'm the creator of the Leadership Circle profile, and I'm here to talk to you today about the universal model of leadership. When I was early in my career, I had the great fortune of being connected with some of the best thought leaders in the field, and I actually got mentored by them. It was a great gift in my life, actually. And what I noticed was that the field is a random collection of really great research and theory and stuff, but completely unintegrated. So whether it was madness on my part or not, I actually set about to see how all this stuff integrated. In over 20 years, it came together and it became a universal model of leadership. And then we built the profile on top of that. So the profile is a rendition of the model. One of the first frameworks I came across was that of Robert Fritz, creative and reactive, and that defines the top half creative, bottom half reactive. Fritz was an artist. He didn't start with a problem to solve or to fix your way forward or even resolve your anxiety or dysfunction. He started with artists and entrepreneurs and so on are about creating what matters. They're about bringing into being something that they envision and care deeply about. And so the top half orientation or mindset is about creating what matters most and bringing it into being and becoming the kind of person that can embody and author that. Bottom half is about fixing problems. It's about solving my way forward. It's like trying to make progress, drive by looking in the rearview mirror. It's not that we don't have to solve problems, it's when they become the focus, we tend to operate from a place of threat. And our actual underlying motivation is to reduce the anxiety, the discomfort, the inner conflict by solving the problem. Whereas the creator lives with the inherent risk that's involved in creating something and stays the course to bring into being what matters most. And these two mindsets could not be more different in terms of how we show up in the world and the strategies we run. Now, there are many frameworks like this. Larry Wilson had play to win, play not to lose. Tim Galway, the inner game, self one, self two. Arbinger, in the box, out of the box. There's above the line, below the line. There's psychology. There's external locus of control, internal locus of control. These two frameworks or mindsets, ways of operating in the world could show up everywhere. And in very different language, but saying essentially the same thing. And so then later, so hold those two. So later, I'm coming across the work of Bob Kegan in adult development. It blew my mind when I came across his work in the 90s. And what happened was these two orientations weren't just two orientations I can sort of choose from, go back and forth. They became vertically oriented. In other words, adults tend to grow through certain operating systems, certain stages of development, if they evolve, and that's a big if, and they go through a certain invariant sequence from one stage to the next, and that happens all over the world. It's cross-culturally validated. Early stage development looks more reactive. Later stage development looks more creative. You have to grow through a reactive phase of leadership in order to launch or move into a creative phase. And these are underpinned by an evolution in consciousness. So Kegan talks about a socialized mind, a self-authoring mind, and a self-transforming mind. And those underpin what we call reactive leadership, creative leadership, and integral leadership. It's not one-to-one. But as the evolution of consciousness happens, so too do we build a platform on which leadership can get more effective. So the vertical axis of the profile is consciousness and stage of development and how leaders show up at these various stages of development. You don't get any more universal than that. The horizontal axis is task and relationship, but underneath that is a deeper polarity that's in the universe, and that has to do with the yang and the yin, yin and yang, positive and negative charge in the universe. And so everything is moving between masculine, feminine, yin, yang, and in physics it's, the electron and the proton, and of course then there's the neutron. So the grid that underlies the profile are two universal constructs into which we plug all kinds of research. So Karen Horney in the 40s and 50s said that, one of the great psychologists said that adults, as they grow into themselves, tend to create three different kinds of character structures. We organize our character structure in one of three ways. We move toward others, we move against, we move away. That was her language. We call that move toward is comply, move against is control, and in the middle ground, move away is protecting. So in move toward, we leverage our gift of heart. So these are heart, will, head, right? We leverage in complying, we leverage our gift of heart, move toward, we ingratiate ourselves to others. We take up a strategy of being loyal, being kind, being nice, listening, being of service. The problem with it is we give up too much power in exchange for that. There's an exchange. I'm okay. I'll be nice if you, in exchange for you will like me and support me. That's the reactive structure. So we form our sense of identity outside in. You define me, and I'm okay if you accept me and like me. Somebody else, outside in, you define me, but here's how I want you to see me. I want you to see me as the one who really drives the results all the time. I'm on top of it. I'm in control. I'm in charge. I get results. I win. I'm bigger than, higher than. I'm going to triumph and win, and that's my character structure. Move away is protecting. I leverage my gift of rational intellectual brilliance. It's about knowing. It's about my critical analytical capability. It's about taking perspective, stepping away, being above it all. In early development, I am my ideas. Don't mess with them. They define me. I'm okay if you see me as brilliant all the time. And so each one of these is a gift with which we are identified, and that becomes its limiting factor. Now, this three-way framework is all through the field. In the Enneagram, there are 9 types, but those 9 types group into groups of 3. And those 3 are move toward, move against, move away. Head, heart, and will is a bioenergetic. The Enneagram, there are 3 head types, will types, and heart types. Now, so this framework is everywhere in the field. And so built into the profile is a typology, how we develop our character structure, our essence, right at the center of our core giftedness. Heart, head, will. And that then, as we evolve into creative mind and self-authoring mindset, those things move up. So complying moves to relating. Now I leverage my gift of relationship and heart, but with power. Self-aware, relationship with self and others. I get really good at that. In controlling, I leverage my gift of power to get results, but now it's not power over, it's power with. And I'm focused on purpose and vision and aligning key stakeholders around strategy and building systems that, co-creating systems that are designed and fit for purpose. From moving away or protecting, I leverage my gift of brilliance, but instead of being focused on being the knower, the know-it-all, I'm actually leveraging that into learner. So I don't know it all, and I'm an active learner, and I become more and more self-aware, more and more systems aware, and more direct and authentic and truth-telling. And that fills in the top half of the profile. So this 3-way structure is actually mirrored in the top, but broken out into 5 categories. So at achieving, those 5 categories define the field. So if you start over at achieving, leaders are purposeful, visionary. They translate that into strategy to get results and make the tough decisions. They redesign systems for high performance. They're authentic and courageous and direct in their conversation, high integrity, self-aware, emotionally intelligent, and then relationally competent and capable of connecting with people at scale, individually and at scale, and developing teams and others. That's the field. And then in the outer circle, in the top half, all we did was organize the competency literature in those 18 key competencies that are well researched by the field to be highly correlated to effectiveness in business and leadership and get business results. And so the competency literature got bucketed into those 3 categories. And in the bottom half that filled out the inner circle, we put in the kinds of all the work from cognitive psychology, rational emotive therapy, where they've been defining and researching beliefs and assumptions that if I hold them, that they limit effectiveness. So for example, if I have an assumption that I need your approval in order to be okay, then I limit power in that I don't use my full power and voice, and therefore I limit my effectiveness. Or if I have a belief that I have to be perfect or else, then I over toggle on requiring perfection of me and others, and that has high energetic cost. And so the bottom half fills in a whole set of ways we can show up that are underpinned by beliefs and assumptions, where we define our sense of identity, what makes us worthwhile, safe, and valuable, outside in. You define me, and I'm okay if you like me, or I'm okay if you see me as the one who gets results, or you see me as I'm brilliant. And therein, that identification is its inherent limitation. When we move to the creative, we unhook from that. I just have a strength that I offer. It's no longer attached to how you see me in quite the same way. And therein becomes the power of the creative mindset. And that's the profile. That's the universal model. It's a dynamic model. All this research integrated and organized in relationship to each other, such that when we over toggle on one dimension, it has corresponding impact across the circle. And so it becomes a very dynamic, universal model of leadership that's both an assessment, a thoroughly integrated model, and therefore a pathway of development. That's the model. Thank you very much. It's been great to be with you.